How do you prepare for a golf tournament?
Well, I hit balls maybe 20 minutes, putt a little bit, smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes, drink 3 Diet Cokes, and go to the first tee. Some days I won't even go to the range.
Episode 169 of the Daily Puck Drop is here. It is the DPD. We welcome you in here on a Wednesday. We thank you for watching on YouTube, listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. All right, coming up today on the DPD. Again, if you're just joining us for the very first time, we do this every single day at 10 a.m. We release it. We give you 30 minutes of hard-hitting sports talk. And, of course, we've got our regular guests that join us every single day here at Puck Sports. It is Wednesday, so that means the human pony keg, the little fire hydrant that could. Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times will join us later today. Also, we'll tease it, a special appearance by Larry Stone that is up and available right now at Puck Sports, wherever you find and wherever you watch or listen. They're on YouTube, again, Apple, Spotify. Please like, subscribe, comment away. It all helps the old venture and the old project. All right, episode 169. Of course, we'll talk about the Mariners. We'll give you the quick rundown, thought or two on Willie Mays. Also, Blaine Newnam passing away. If you don't know Blaine, longtime Seattle Times columnist. A real cool event that's happening in your backyard that maybe you don't know of coming up tomorrow. And, of course, as we always wrap up the Daily Puck Drop, hashtag DPD, with Hey, What the Puck. I thought there was something that John Canzano said yesterday. It had nothing to do with college sports, but is perfect. Also, on Hey, What the Puck, probably one of the single greatest things that have been accomplished by a head coach that has been fired in the NBA. And it's a hat tip. Congratulations to Monty Williams. All right, let's start, though, first with the Mariners. Offense comes through again. They just keep winning. They just keep doing it. 8-5 yesterday over the Cleveland Guardians, in which we talked yesterday on the DPD was statement series win against Texas. This is going to be another measuring stick for them against Cleveland. This is a Cleveland team that sits in front of them right now in the standings for that second overall spot in the playoffs. They need to catch them after losing 2 out of 3 to them earlier this year. So if they want to avoid the tiebreaker, they need to take at least 2 out of 3 there against Cleveland. They get off to a great start yesterday. Bryce Miller got off to a good start, kind of wore down as the game went on. The heat got to him, but the offense, again, the story of it. They're 13 games now over 500, which is just amazing. 44-31. They've got the largest lead in baseball right now at 10 games. They are just dusting the Rangers and the Astros right now. You can turn your attention, like the old hard copy of the newspaper right here. Turn the page to the playoffs, boys, because this would be, it would take an epic collapse for them not to get in. They're going to win the division. They've got to set their sights now on the postseason and bolstering this team even more. Even though they're playing great right now, someone asked me yesterday on X, would you take 2 bats or 1 bat and a reliever? Thought it was a very good question, and I'm going to steal that. What would you do? Would you want 2 extra bats or 1 bat and a reliever? I answered it with 1 bat and 1 reliever. Now, they're going to get Santos back, it looks like. They've got Logan Evans coming up, but we don't know anything about either of those guys. 1, will Santos be healthy? And then 2, what can Logan Evans provide you? But, I would say a bat and a reliever. They're 2.5 games back now of Cleveland for that second spot. They're 34-5 when they score at least 4 runs a game. That is just a remarkable number. And it's a real just testament and a comment how good their pitching staff is. Just score 4 runs and have that record. And we've mentioned this many times with all of our baseball guests, whether it's Divish or Brad Adam or Bill Kruger or even Jim Duquette. If they just get a half a run more, you can just see how dominant these guys can be. And they're doing much more than that, especially during this stretch. And we're going to get to that in just a little bit. I do want to go over some of the highlights yesterday because I think there's some good positive things that are happening. It was a good sign yesterday for one particular player. J.P. Crawford got the M's in that lead first there in that third inning with a 2-run home run.
High fly ball, chasing Brennan, and the center fielder Schneemann on the track, and he can't get it. It's a 2-run homer for J.P. Crawford.
Big thanks to Root Sports for that. J.P. Crawford with that 2-run home run gives the M's a 2-1 lead there in the third inning. J.P., good sign for him. On base 4 times yesterday. His 7th home run. He had 3 RBIs in that game. It's been a struggle for J.P. since coming back. Just a 204 batting average with an on-base percentage of 291. So a good sign yesterday from your team leader, guy that leads off, plays shortstop. He is the heartbeat of that organization. You know, we talk a lot about, well, who's the best player on the team? Well, clearly that's Julio. Who's the most important player? I contend it's Cal Raleigh. Who's the glue? Who's the heartbeat of the team? It's J.P. Crawford. J.P. Crawford is that leader of that baseball team. It's kind of that mantle, that baton that's been passed down, over the years, and he has that. But it'd be nice to see him get going offensively. Great sign last night there for J.P. Crawford. How about Luke Raley's home run? His 8th home run to left field to put the Mariners up 6-1, because there's a cool story about this.
Goes the other way, backs up. Quanter's checking where he is on the wall, and it is gone! Luke Raley goes up with a home run, number 8.
Dave Sims there on the call again. Thanks again to Root Sports. Luke Raley with the home run in left field put the M's up 6-1. The cool thing is his family, he's from Ohio. He had 50 or 60 people there that were watching him. They had all bought tickets in left field because he was playing in left field. Now, you didn't think that Luke Raley was going to hit a ball because he's a left-hander into left field, but that's exactly where he hit it, and it falls into the hands of a guy who couldn't grab it, and he dropped the home run ball. That person was Luke Raley's uncle. He talked about it last night on Root Sports. Pretty funny story. So Luke Raley, who then was ejected later in the game, which is another great. Luke Raley had one of the greatest games yesterday. He made an amazing catch in the 4th inning of that catch there in foul territory. He had the home run. Then, of course, the story with his uncle, and then he gets thrown out of the game. And it's the 2nd time that somebody from the Raley family has been thrown out. He wouldn't go into details, but I think it was last year, a few years ago, when he was playing for the Rays, his dad had been thrown out of the game for whatever reason. He wouldn't go into details of why he was thrown out, but get unruly with another spectator, so he was asked to leave. We did our Luke Raley appreciation post or segment last week, and let's just do it one more time. It's just it's the best move, one of the best moves they made in the offseason. Okay, and kind of under the radar, and there was a lot of people, including myself, well, aren't you just really acquiring just an older version of Jared Kelenic? But you are, from a skill set standpoint, probably yes. But from what he brings, the energy and the positive energy that he brings, it is just so much. It's 1,000 times better than Kelenic. And I love Jared Kelenic, but Jared Kelenic, when he wasn't doing good and he was struggling, it was it's a pity party. And I think his negative vibe would permeate throughout that clubhouse. Luke Raley, every time you see the guy, he's got a damn smile on his face. Looks like he's just having the time of his life. The biggest compliment I think you can give any baseball player is that you say he's just a ball player. And Luke Raley is just a ball player. And he was fantastic yesterday and has been fantastic all season long. It's one of the better pickups. Maybe you can argue the best pickup they made this offseason in that trade there with Tampa Bay. Bet M's under summer tour continues. We took one on the chin yesterday because the total yesterday was 8-5, or excuse me, 8.5. They scored 13 runs, so we lose that. So we're even Steven on the year, 22, 22, and 2. And you're wondering, what the hell are we doing? Well, I'm betting on the under for every single game of this year. Because, again, it goes back to the first week or two of the season. They couldn't score any runs. They're not allowing any runs. Their offense is now starting to pick it up a little bit more. So, and we're getting into the summer, so they're going to start scoring some more runs. I'm feeling we're going to be on a run here soon in which we're going to get kind of pummeled in our bet M's under summer. We might have to revise it maybe a little bit. I don't know. Today, it's Brian Wu against Tanner Beebe. The total 7.5. You know what to do. You take the under. Let's go back to kind of what the turnaround has been for this team here lately in the last, now not quite month, but almost like 2.5, 3 weeks. And the offensive turnaround has happened since they fired their offensive coordinator. God, it sounds so stupid when you say that. But when they fired Brant Brown, they fired Brown on May 31st. And now since June 1st, you can say, oh, maybe it's just a coincidence. Well, I don't know. I mean, numbers are numbers. And since June 1st, the team is 12-4. They're averaging 5 runs a game, which, again, if they score 5 runs a game, they are not going to lose with this pitching staff, ever. Their last 15 days, they've got the 4th most runs in the American League. They're still striking out the most, but they lead the American League in that time span in walks. They've got the 3rd most doubles. They've got the 3rd most home runs. And your best player on your team since June 1st, who's now primarily hitting in the 3rd spot. You hear that, Jude? Hitting in the 3rd spot. Julio, since June 1st, batting average of 281, 359 on base, 456 slugging, and an OPS now that is just starting to go up and up and up at 816. So whatever transition they made, and they talked about it last night after the game. I read the comments in the Seattle Times. Seattle Times, your trusted news source. How about that? Am I trying to do a pitch for an advertising deal? Yeah, probably. Adam Jude wrote about it. He talked to the players that they've changed their approach a little bit. No longer are they waiting for the perfect pitch. See ball, hit ball. You know, sometimes I think you need to break down baseball into the simplest things, like what these guys were told when they were in Little League. And when you were like in Little League, that's kind of what you tell your players. See the ball, hit the ball, run to first base. Catch the ball, throw the ball. You know, I've talked about this a lot with all different sports. We overcomplicate sports way too much. And sometimes, you know, you need to peel it away and just realize that sometimes the less information, the better. And it sounds like they were getting overloaded with too much information from Brown, and that it was just too much all the time. Look at this, look at that. And I don't know if they've changed how they go about telling the players to attack, but when you read the comments yesterday, just saying, hey, we're going up there looking to hit right away. And I love that approach. Swing at the first pitch. The first pitch, and we tell our 11-year-old kids this all the time. That first ball that is thrown is probably going to be the best one, because, you know, that kid wants to get the ball over the plate. He wants to get ahead. And if it's right down the middle, swing away. We don't need to take pitches. I remember we did this in one of the games earlier this year. We were playing some kid that was great, and we knew he was really good. And I made the mistake of telling our kids, hey, let's take a few pitches to run his pitch count up. It was the dumbest thing I ever did. And one of my buddies who was coaches with me said it afterwards, said that was idiotic. And he was right. It was stupid. It was dumb. Because the kids went up there and they were so scared to swing because coach told us not to run up the guy's pitch count. And it was awful. One of our worst games that we played, all because of me. And just bringing this back here to the Mariners, I don't know what the approach with Brown was, but they seem to be, since the firing, way more aggressive, especially with the first pitches. Just being, hey, we see ball, hit ball. Kind of simple, isn't it? It's like the old, we share this all the time, and I think it's still true to this day. Like, you know, you send your kids, or there's all these hitting clinics that people go to, you know, all these players, they've got their team hitting instructors, they've got their personal hitting instructors, correct? Everyone's got a hitting instructor. You, as a parent, your kids are probably going places to get hitting lessons all the time. I always go back to the Tony Gwynn video, and Ty Francis talked about this. As well. Francis kind of shared this story that he thought he was going to get this amazing insight on how to hit from Tony Gwynn when he went to San Diego State. And then he got there and he realized that's just pretty simple. And Tony Gwynn, you can find it on the internet, has a famous video that I'm sure a lot of you have seen. And he had 2 rules of hitting. Can't remember who he was talking to. I think maybe a group of college players or high school players. He said he had 2 rules of hitting. Rule number 1, be balanced. Don't be off balance. Just set up however you like to set up, but just make sure you're balanced. that when you swing, you're not falling over, that you can swing as hard as you possibly can, but again, remain balanced. And then his second rule was, I wish I had a bat. You just, the knob of the bat, take it to the ball. That was it. That was the only two things he thought about as a hitter. And we're talking about, one of the, if not the greatest hitter in baseball history. Stay balanced, take the knob to the ball. Again, I think that with players nowadays, it can be good and bad. You get inundated with too much information, but maybe to simplify it, and the simplest thing when you're trying to hit, and maybe this is again what the Mariners have gone back to, and some of the players is see ball, hit ball. Maybe let's just be balanced and let's just take the knob to the ball and see what happens. And whatever they're doing in this stretch since they fired Brown since June 1st, it is working. And again, this offense, the numbers don't lie. If they average 5 runs, they don't even have to average 5 runs, 4.5 runs. If they do what they've been doing since June 1st and average that amount of runs and keep scoring the fourth most runs in the American League, leading the league in walks, third in doubles, third in home runs. I mean, look out, man, because that pitching staff, knock on wood here, is cruising right now. And Julio's starting to turn it around, especially since June 1st. We gave you those numbers as well. Sad news yesterday in the world of sports, too, nationally and then locally. And we'll get to the local one here in a second. But Willie Mays passed away yesterday there at the age of 93. And, of course, people of my generation, my age at 48, never got to see him play. Of course, I've seen countless highlights on YouTube. I've seen the catch. I've started watching the documentary last night on HBO Max. It's a good one to say, hey, kid, I would recommend it. You've read a lot about him, but we didn't grow up with him. We didn't get to see him. So I wanted to talk to somebody who had actually seen him play and could talk about the legend that was Willie Mays. And the first person I thought of when Willie Mays passed was Larry Stone. Larry Stone, and I screwed it up because I was like, oh, that's all right. Larry Stone grew up in the Bay Area. Must have been a huge Giants fan. He grew up in L.A., and he was a Dodgers fan. But he went to school at Cal, and where he got his professional career started was in the Bay Area. But a guy who had a great, unique perspective of loving the game of baseball from an early age, but loving and admiring Mays from the other side of a great rivalry, which it is an unbelievable rivalry between the Dodgers and Giants. I caught up with Larry Stone last night, a few hours after the passing of Willie Mays.
It really is the end of an era. I think to people of my age, I'm in my 60s, Willie Mays is an absolute icon with Hank Aaron. The same stature, I think, that people of your generation think of Michael Jordan. He was a towering figure, and just probably the greatest baseball player I've ever seen. Willie Mays was the arch nemesis of the Sandy Koufax Dodger teams that I worshipped. And they played him 18 times a year. And those games were just epic battles between the Dodgers and the Giants in those days, because they were both great. Juan Marichal, Willie Mays, Willie McCovey on one side, and then Drysdale, Koufax, Maury Wills on the other. And I just lived and died with those games. And Willie Mays broke my heart on more than one occasion with his greatness.
That's Larry Stone, former Seattle Times columnist, who joined me last night. Big thanks to Larry. His episode, as you are watching and listening to this, is up right now on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. So just talking about the greatness there of Willie Mays. 6 all-time in home runs, 11th most RBIs in the sport, the 12th most hits, 2-time National League MVP, should have probably won more. Rookie of the Year. He was a 24-time All-Star. Ted Williams had a great quote about him. The All-Star game was built for Willie Mays. He has authored the greatest catch in Major League Baseball history, of course, in the World Series. He played stickball with kids in New York City when he was playing for the Giants before they relocated to San Francisco. He'd play stickball with the kids in the morning and then would walk to the Polo Grounds to go play baseball for the Giants. He started off his professional career with the Birmingham Black Barons of the Negro League as a 17-year-old in high school, and was just a stud. When he got picked up by the Giants after high school, he went to AAA in Minnesota. He lasted 35 games because he batted .477. I said this to Larry yesterday, and I think it holds true. You know, you can do this for every sport. I think this actually would be a great little exercise to do. What are the greatest numbers in each sport? Like when you see a kid in high school or college or youth sports wearing that number, you immediately think of that great player. And you immediately think, well, if they're wearing that number, they better be good. And I brought that up to Larry. I think when I see a kid wear 24, you know right away that's got to be the best player on the team. Because no one's going to, the scrub on the team ain't wearing 24. We handed out our jerseys the last week for our all-star team. And all the kids wanted 24. Now, keep in mind, they're 11. They've never seen King Griffey Jr. play, but they've seen the highlights of Junior. They've never seen Willie Mays play, and they probably have no idea who Willie Mays is. But when I think of 24, I think of the greatest players of all time. And I think of those two. I mean, Griffey's like Larry said, Willie Mays is the greatest player he's ever seen. I never saw him play. To me, Griffey's the greatest player I've ever seen. So when I think of 24, I just think of greatness. And anytime I see a kid wearing 24 playing baseball, I'm like, he better be good. The same way probably when you see someone wear 23 wearing basketball. I think of those two numbers. I think in basketball, I think of Jordan wearing 23, or of a kid wearing 23. I immediately think that's got to be a great player, or 32 for Magic. But football, I just always think of 16. Like if a quarterback's wearing 16, maybe for Montana, I'm thinking, yeah, he's got to be a stud. I don't know. Football doesn't stand out as much to me as baseball. Baseball's such a numbers-driven sport, but yeah, 24. He mentioned 44. Did Larry, of course, of Hank Aaron. I think 3 as well when you think of Babe Ruth. But Willie Mays, an all-time great, just an absolute all-time great, a Hall of Famer of the Hall of Fame, right? The absolute one of the best players, and many would argue the best player that baseball has ever seen. So rest in peace, Willie Mays. And again, that interview with Larry Stone reflecting on the life and the greatness of Willie Mays up right now on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, pucksports.com as well. Also, another legend passing away yesterday, longtime Seattle Times columnist Blaine Newnam. Joined the Seattle Times from the Eugene Register Guard back in 1982. Stayed there through his retirement in 2005. I never met Blaine Newnam, but I felt like I did because I read him religiously as a kid growing up. You know, I used to always joke with the go-to guy about reading him, and now I get to work with you. And I would just do that to illustrate how old the go-to guy was. But I felt like he was always kind of sitting next to me as I would read him, every morning, religiously, especially in the heyday of Don James and what Washington was going through in the 90s, and then the Sonics, obviously, which was that kind of that golden era of those 90s for a sports fan. And of course the Mariners too. What I appreciated about him and always remember about Blaine Newnam, just class. He just came across as a classy writer and columnist. He didn't talk or write down to you. He wrote a column or a story as he was just your friend sitting next to you talking about the game. Never met him, but just came across as a class act. And when you read his column, I think you came away, you felt more educated, smarter, better about what he had just written. And you knew that the detail that was placed in that column was just well researched. And he's a legendary, he's a pioneer in this business. And go read a very well done obituary by Jeff Baker of the Seattle Times. Really changed the game of how you covered sports from his time in the Eugene Register Guard all the way to the Seattle Times, building just an army of reporters and sidebar stories and the use of photography and pictures in the paper of the Eugene Register Guard, which the Register Guard, it turned into, it's taken a step back now, like most papers have, but Eugene Register Guard, when he left, and up until by, 8 or 10 years ago, one of the best papers around, especially covering sports, legendary. I mean, he left that spot as a legendary sports section. So thank you to Blaine Newnam for being in our households every single morning. KPMG Women's PGA Championship starts tomorrow. Did you know that at Sahalee? I mean, it's a major championship that's taking place in our backyard. I know it's a women's event, not a men's event, but we've gone on and on about how when is the U.S. Open going to come back to Chambers Bay, and we've said it's never going to come back. We want more events here in the summer. I hope the PGA sees this and sees what this can be, and maybe they'll come back someday. I think Sahalee will be a great test for these guys. I know it doesn't have the length that these PGA Tour players, play at nowadays, but how tight it is, it could be the great detractor to length. But it starts tomorrow. The world's best women golfers will be in Sahalee. Bruce King. Sahalee, which is a fantastic track. Tomorrow you can watch it on Peacock from 1 to 3, and then it will switch over to the Golf Channel from 3 to 7. If you want to go out there, tickets are affordable. They start single day tickets are $40. And I believe kids under, I want to say 16, get in free. So if you want to take your kids out there, parking, I think you can park at the Marymore Park, and then they'll shuttle you over there to Sahalee. But the KPMG Women's PGA Championship starting tomorrow. You want to catch up on it? We caught up with Stacey Lewis about a month ago and talked to her about coming back to Sahalee. So that's up there at pucksports.com. Also on, not on YouTube. We didn't do video for that one, but also on all the podcast channels on which you get Puck Sports. Just search for Stacey Lewis. Caught up with her about a week ago. All right, as we wrap up the daily Puck Drop, we finished with Hey, What the Puck? So John Canzano was on yesterday talking about his weekly visit on Tuesdays. So we talk all things college athletics, and then whatever just kind of pops in our head. But John, we were in the beginning talking about Father's Day and how his father-in-law's living with them, and the kids got got their grandfather a present, but they just stuffed the present in like one of those bags. They didn't wrap it. And this led to Canzano being a little fed up with his kids and people that do this.
This is the other thing that bothers me, and it doesn't bother everybody, but what happened to wrapping a present, Puck? Nowadays everybody throws it in a bag, puts a piece of tissue on the top of it. It's lazy. All right. Like, take a moment, use some Scotch tape when you're giving a gift.
I agree with John on this one. If you're going to give someone a present, wrap it up. I got 3 presents on Father's Day from the family. They all wrapped it up. It is lazy. It is. You take the time out to buy a present for someone, wrap the thing. Wrap it up. Take some time and wrap it up. Don't be a heathen. Okay? Show the appreciation of wrapping a present. If you ever want to witness the worst person in the world at wrapping a present, a lot of people like to tell you what they're great at. Let me tell you what I'm terrible at. Now, there's a long list of things I'm terrible at. Number 1 is loading the dishwasher. I'm a village idiot of loading the dishwasher. Can't do it. Hate it. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. You open up the dishwasher, it looks like I vomited of all the plates coming out of my mouth into the dishwasher. Number 2, wrapping presents. It is comical how bad I am. And everybody knows, like for a birthday or Christmas, they know which one Dad wrapped. They'll just look at it. Oh, you wrapped that one. Because it's so awful. It's so bad. Like missing sections on the corner because I didn't use enough paper. Then I used too much paper so the fold doesn't look clean. I need to, honestly, is there anyone out there that teaches a class, and there probably is, and I probably can watch it on YouTube, how to wrap a present, because I need it. But John's right. I'm getting a little choked up. But John is right. We need to learn how to wrap presents. And if you're going to give someone a present, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Finally, Monty Williams is my hero. As we wrap up, Hey, What the Puck? Monty Williams is unbelievable. He was just fired yesterday, or fired early this morning, by the Detroit Pistons. Pistons are terrible. Organization is bad. It's a train wreck of a situation. Monty Williams is a fairly decent coach, but he's been fired now twice. That's not the story. The story is he is one of the greatest business people in the world, because the Detroit Pistons owe him $65 million. They owe it to him. He lasted 1 year. He's out of that crappy situation. He doesn't have to live in Detroit. Sorry if you live in Detroit, but it's Detroit. I mean, come on. Even people that live in Detroit don't love Detroit. So he's out of that, and they still owe him $65 million. You know what's even better than that? When he was fired by the Suns, they still owed him over $21 million when he got fired by the Suns. So he's making close to $100 million since he's been fired by two teams in the last few years to not coach. Monty Williams is the single greatest individual in this country right now. He's making damn near $100 million for doing nothing. And the best part of it is he can go out and get another job and they'll pay him. What a world. What a world to be a part of. You know what I say? People will say, God, can you believe that? It's just, he's stealing money. Well, you call it what you want. What I say is, hey, Monty Williams, congratulations. Cheers to you. You have done the system correct, my friend. That's it for Hey, What the Puck? And that's it for the Daily Puck Drop again every single day at 10 a.m. We appreciate you watching and listening. And please like and subscribe and leave a comment. It all helps. We appreciate all of it. It's a Wednesday, so that means Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times, brought to you by Chalet Bowl, will be released a little bit later today. I've heard you. You want them released before 1 o'clock. I'll release it before 1 o'clock. So stop yelling at me. I'll get it out as soon as we can, and we wrap up with Ryan Divish. Appreciate, love all the support. Thank you to all the emails that come in and thanking me for doing the show, and congratulating me and all that kind of stuff. And I read all of them, and I try to answer everybody, and it means the world to me. So I always want to be thankful to all of you that watch and listen, because when I started this, I didn't think anybody would watch or listen. I thought a few people, maybe my family, and that would be it. But a lot of you are, and I really, really appreciate it. And it means the world to me. And coming up next week, we're going to have a couple big announcements, and I can't wait to share that all with you. Stop emailing me or texting me asking what those announcements are. We'll do them next week. All right. Divish later today. Larry Stone episode is up right now on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Thursday. As always, we promise to be better.
Shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!